face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello viewers, I'm Gamichi Samandida and you're tuned into POA Daily News. Stay with us. President Paul Kagame said the Washington peace talks are a positive step but emphasized that regional leaders must take responsibility for achieving lasting peace. Rwandan President Paul Kagame has described the recent Washington peace talks between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo as a step in the right direction, but stressed that lasting peace will only be achieved if regional leaders take responsibility. The two countries signed a U.S. brokered agreement on June 27 in Washington, D.C., with one of its key priorities being the neutralization of the FDLR, a militia operating in operating in Eastern DRC, formed by remnants of the perpetrators of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Kagame noted that while international involvement has provided a framework for dialogue, the outcome remains uncertain. We have had people visit Rwanda and DR Congo and rush to the UN Security Council to make announcements and pass resolutions. That's why in the first years we spent a lot of time on that without having anything tangible in place, Kagame said. He added that the Washington process offers hope, but cautioned that peace cannot be imposed from outside. The president emphasized that genuine commitment from Rwanda, DRC and other regional leaders is essential. Some of these processes will not work just because we are meeting in Washington or because the powerful United States is involved. Until those directly concerned really want and commit to achieving the end result, even the most powerful will remain frustrated, he said. Kagame pointed out that Washington's involvement came while other initiatives, including those led by SADC and the African Union, were already underway. He argued that the root of the crisis lies in the DRC and accused some leaders of avoiding responsibility by calling for sanctions against Rwanda instead of addressing internal mismanagement. The only thing they know is to keep asking for sanctions for Rwanda. But if you sanction Rwanda, how does it solve your problem? How does it solve the mismanagement of your country's affairs? Kagame asked. The Rwandan leader concluded that while international frameworks are useful, the responsibility for peace and stability ultimately rests with the region's own leadership. President Bola Tinubu has approved the formation of Nigeria's team for the U.S.-Nigeria Joint Working Group, a move aimed at strengthening cooperation in addressing the country's security challenges. The decision follows an agreement reached during a recent visit to Washington, D.C. by a high-level Nigerian delegation led by the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu. Ribadu will head the Nigerian side of the group, supported by senior officials from key government institutions. In a statement, Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, said Tinubu urged the group to work closely with their U.S. counterparts to ensure effective implementation of agreements across different sectors. Nigeria's security situation has drawn international attention, particularly after U.S. President Donald Trump raised concerns about alleged killings of Christians in the country, even threatening military intervention. The Nigerian government rejected the claim, stressing that it is actively working to address security issues. President Tinubu reaffirmed that the safety of Nigerians remains his administration's top priority, and he emphasized the country's commitment to religious freedom and tolerance. Meanwhile, on November 21, the U.S. House Subcommittee on Africa reviewed Nigeria's redesignation as a country of particular concern, CPC, with speakers presenting different views on the violence and killings in the country. President Emerson Mnangagwa has announced that the communities must be the primary beneficiaries of Zimbabwe's natural resources, unveiling the National Development Strategy 2 (NDS2), which will run from 2026 to 2030. Speaking at the launch held at the State House in Harare, the president said the new blueprint will prioritize industrialization, value addition and benefication to ensure that local people derive tangible economic benefits from the country's mineral and agricultural wealth. He stressed that the strategy aims to transform raw resources into high-value products, create jobs, stimulate local industries, and boost rural economies. Mnangagwa highlighted that NDS2 will place communities at the center of development while focusing on infrastructure, planned human settlements, energy, transport, ICT, water, sanitation, and housing as key enablers of inclusive growth. He noted that the 10 national priorities outlined under the strategy are outlined with regional and global frameworks such as the SADC Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan, the African Union Agenda 2063, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Building on agricultural successes achieved under National Development Strategy 1, particularly in maize, wheat, and tobacco production, the President said National Development Strategy 2 will strengthen food and nutrition security through increased productivity, modern storage facilities, and climate-resilient farming systems. He underscored the importance of climate-proofing agriculture, expanding irrigation, and integrating land and water management to safeguard national food supplies. Mnangagwa emphasized that all interventions under NDS2 are designed to propel Zimbabwe closer to its Vision 2030 target of becoming a prosperous, empowered, upper-middle-income society. Prime Minister Lawrence Wong of Singapore recently paid an official visit to Ethiopia, where he held wide-ranging and constructive discussions with Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. The meeting underscored a shared commitment to deepening ties between Asia and Africa, with both leaders highlighting opportunities for collaboration in trade, investment, and sustainable development. In a joint press release, Prime Minister Abiy emphasized the importance of stronger partnerships between Africa and advanced economies like Singapore.
I think this is the right time for every developed nation to turn their face to Africa. We knew that developed nations have capital resources and skilled human capital, and this is a missing element in Africa. But there are lots of things that Africa also can offer. We're not begging like yesterday. We're saying, we have a lot to offer. We have human capital, we have land, we have fresh water, we have huge potential for clean energy. So it's good to combine those potentials to the betterment of our citizenry. So from this perspective, your decision to come and to visit Ethiopia after 6 decades, it means a lot.
The announcement of a comprehensive cooperation framework between Ethiopia and Singapore marks a significant turning point in Africa-Asia relations. At its core, the partnership reflects a broader shift in global development dynamics, resource-rich Africa aligning with knowledge-rich Asia to create a model of mutual transformation. Singapore's Prime Minister Lawrence Wong reaffirmed his country's strong commitment to deepening partnerships across Africa, highlighting Ethiopia as a strategic hub for expanding relations with the continent. He emphasized that Ethiopia's growing economy, regional influence, and role as host of the African Union make it a vital partner for Singapore's outreach to Africa.
There is clear potential to grow our bilateral cooperation. And beyond that, there are many opportunities to bridge and connect our two regions. As hubs in our respective parts of the world, Singapore and Ethiopia can catalyze more trade and investment flows between Southeast Asia and Africa. And it is in this spirit that Singapore has decided to establish an embassy in Addis Ababa. This will be our first embassy in East Africa and our third in Africa. And it is a tangible demonstration of Singapore's commitment to our partnership with Ethiopia and our belief in Ethiopia's strategic importance and potential. Our embassy will also enable Singapore to strengthen our ties with Africa as a whole, because being here in Addis Ababa will allow us to better engage the Africa Union, deepen our understanding of Africa, and explore new areas of cooperation.
The symbolism of Singapore opening its first embassy in Addis Ababa cannot be overstated. It positions the city-state as a gateway to Africa's 1.3 billion people and signals Asia's growing interest in Africa beyond traditional trade ties. For Ethiopia, the partnership provides access to Singapore's proven development model, offering lessons in governance, sustainability, and innovation. The memoranda of understanding signed between the two nations cover critical areas: digital transformation, logistics, trade and investment, skills development, and green urban planning. These sectors are not only vital for Ethiopia's Vision 2030 ambitions, but also align with Africa's broader development agenda under the African Union's Agenda 2063. From a geographical perspective, the partnership illustrates how Africa and Asia can complement each other's strengths. Africa's natural wealth and demographic dynamism meet Asia's capital, technology, and institutional know-how. This is a departure from traditional donor-recipient models, instead emphasizing a partnership of equals where both sides stand to gain. For Singapore, the alliance offers strategic access to African markets at a time when global competition for influence on the continent is intensifying. For Ethiopia, it provides a chance to diversify partnerships, reduce dependency on traditional Western or Chinese models, and accelerate industrialization through knowledge transfer. The Ethiopia-Singapore blueprint could serve as a template for future Africa-Asia collaborations. If successfully implemented, it may inspire similar alliances across the continent, reshaping South-South cooperation into a driver of sustainable growth. In essence, this partnership is more than bilateral diplomacy. It is a signal that Africa and Asia are ready to redefine global development by leveraging complementary strengths. The world will be watching closely as Ethiopia and Singapore attempt to prove the future belongs to partnerships built on mutual respect, shared aspirations, and practical cooperation. Moving to business, the tea sector in Kenya has been lauded for its vital role in economic growth, rural development, and poverty reduction. Speaking in Nairobi during the Nairobi Tea Stakeholders Forum, East African Tea Trade Association EATTA Chairman Abdi Hussein said technological innovations such as precision agriculture and sustainable farming practices have boosted yields and improved tea quality, leading to higher earnings for farmers. He noted that improved logistics and supply chain systems have also enabled African producers to access global markets more efficiently. The Mombasa Tea Auction, a global benchmark for tea prices, recorded notably stability in 2025, with auction absorption rising sharply to 84% from 51% in 2024. Kenya Tea Development Agency (KTDA) east of Rift Valley and Rwanda led in price performance, averaging $2.98 and $2.92 per kilogram, respectively. Hussein reaffirmed Kenya's position as the world's leading exporter of black tea, while acknowledging challenges such as climate change, regulatory hurdles, fluctuating global prices, and rising production costs. He added that competition from earning producers and shifting consumer preferences toward specialty teas present further obstacles, but also opportunities for diversification and innovation. Hussein urged stakeholders to tap into the growing global demand for specialty and high-quality tea, highlighting value addition through flavored tea and ready-to-drink products as a way to attract younger consumers and boost profitability. He praised the African Continental Free Trade Area for its potential to expand intra-African trade and reduce reliance on traditional export markets. Looking ahead, he projected a promising outlook for the sector, stressing East African Tea Trade Association's commitment to sustainability, partnerships and equitable benefit distribution within the tea value chain. EATTA Managing Director George Amuga also reported significant milestones achieved in 2025, including improved market stability and regulatory reforms. He credited the association's advocacy for blocking a proposed 375 shilling cleaning charge on tea exports, removing taxes on packaging materials under the Finance Act 2025, and reducing Kenya Ports Authority charges that had previously hampered exports. Amuga revealed that EATEA registered 32 new members in 2025, welcomed DTB as a new settlement bank, and achieved a 98% success rate in resolving member issues. He further highlighted the association's sponsorship of key events such as the Members Forum, Golf Tournament, and the Orthodox Tea Expo, which helped boost engagement across the tea community. EATEA also expanded its regional footprint through collaborations with the Uganda Tea Association and Sri Lankan stakeholders, while intervening to secure stranded tea shipments at Port Sudan. Amuga said the launch of the Orthodox tea auction in 2025 opened new trading opportunities with export strategies targeting China, Iran, the CIS region, Europe, and Morocco. African Development Bank EIB lent Mauritania $275 million for railway upgrade. Mauritania is set to receive a transformative boost for its legendary desert train thanks to a landmark $275 million agreement signed on the sidelines of the 2025 Africa Investment Forum between the African Development Bank, the European Investment Bank EIB, and the National Mining Company SNIA. The corporate financing package, granted without any state guarantee, marks a significant milestone for the country's mining infrastructure while advancing the European Union's Global Gateway strategy. The funding offers a breath of fresh air to one of the world's longest and heaviest trains, the crucial lifeline connecting the iron ore mines of Zurete to the port of Nondibu. The deal provides $150 million from the African Development Bank and $125 million from the EIB Global, the development arm of EIB, backed by the European Union. According to African Development Bank Group President Sidi Ould Tah, this non-sovereign financing structure reflects the institution's determination to scale up private sector investments in strategic value chains, as the loans are extended directly to SNIA on the strength of its own balance sheet. SNIA CEO Mohamed Telendi emphasized that modernizing the company's logistics chain is a key pillar of its strategic program and vital for achieving its production targets. Beyond rehabilitation of heavily owned tracks, the project also aims to expand the network by constructing 42 kilometers of new railway lines to connect future mining sites at Ojo and Atomai. The investment will further enable the purchase of modern locomotives, wagons, and advanced maintenance equipment, with the overarching goals of increasing export capacity, improving reliability, and reducing fuel consumption across the 700-kilometer corridor. This initiative is also being positioned as a flagship example of the EU's Global Gateway vision, offering high-quality, sustainable alternatives to other development partners' initiatives. European Commissioner for International Partnership Joseph Sikela highlighted the project's ability to link Mauritania's mining heartland to global markets, creating local growth, jobs, and sustainable development. Finally, EIB Vice President Ambrosio Fole framed it as a concrete outcome of renewed EU-Africa cooperation following the recent AU-EU summit in Rwanda. Environmental considerations also feature prominently, as modernizing rail transport, significantly less carbon-intensive than road transport, is seen as a pathway to greener, more inclusive growth. African Development Bank Vice President for the private sector, Solomon Kainor, noted that the project strengthens Mauritania's competitiveness, supports the energy transition, and fosters local job creation. Finally, sports. The countdown to the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations has begun. The Morocco is set to host the 35th edition of the continent's biggest football tournament. The competition kicks off on December 21, 2025 and will run until January 18, 2026, featuring 24 nations battling for glory across 9 world-class stadiums. Rabat's complex Sportif Prince Moulay Abdallah will stage both the opening match and the grand final, promising a colorful spectacle for fans. This year's African schedule breaks tradition by moving away from the usual January-February window to avoid clashing with FIFA's expanded Club World Cup. Morocco, a nation rich in football passion, is preparing to welcome Africa's stars in what is expected to be a thrilling tournament. As excitement builds, attention turns to the rare achievement of winning back-to-back AFCON titles. Only 3 nations have managed this feat. Egypt first did it in 1957 and 1959, later achieving an unmatched treble in 2006, 2008 and 2010. Ghana followed with consecutive wins in 1963 and in 1965, while Cameroon joined the elite club with triumphs in 2000 and 2002. Now reigning champions Ivory Coast are dreaming of becoming the 4th nation to defend their crown. Despite past struggles to retain titles after victories in 1992 and 2015, the Elephants are determined to rewrite history, with Morocco hosting for the first time in nearly 4 decades. AFCON 2025 promises unforgettable football moments, fierce competition, and the chance for Ivory Coast to join Africa's most exclusive winner's circle. Now, let's take a look at the current weather forecast and the anticipated condition across the region. That wraps up our broadcast from POA News of this hour. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned for more news and updates from Africa.